Being a landlord is tough. You're worried about not having tenants. You're worried about having tenants. You're worried if they're going to pay on time, if they're communicative, if you're providing them a good quality of life, and so on. On top of all that, you're probably worried about whether you're going to make money as a landlord to begin with. And with all those things, there's so much to worry about already that just knowing how to find tenants, screen them, and collect rent shouldn't even be on that list. And so we've created Landlord University with this as our first training, Landlord 101, to go over these very basics of how to be a landlord, including listing your property online, finding and screening tenants, handling leasing, and keeping up with your property's maintenance. All in hopes of finding ways to minimize some of the headaches that you're experiencing. And this session is going to show you how to think about the world as a landlord because you already have enough going on. First and foremost, you'll want to start by finding tenants. A lot of trouble can either be introduced or avoided here. It's important to know that tenants are just looking for a great place to live in a neighborhood that they like and have a place that they can feel is theirs. And so you're tasked at helping them find and realize that your unit is what they're looking for. Now, historically, people have used newspaper classifieds to help them find tenants, hoping someone who's reading the Sunday paper is going to stumble across their available unit. But we're in the modern era now, and tenants just aren't looking in the newspaper anymore. Now they're looking online, including Craigslist, Zillow, Trulia, HotPads, and others. And so that's where you're going to want to be. But as a landlord, I know you're probably thinking, well, which of those sites should I market my property on? And honestly, there's no reason to exclude any of them. You can create an ad or a listing on any of those sites for free. And if you're wanting to be a bit savvier and save some time, you can look for places that syndicate your ad to multiple websites at once. Now, Avail is just one of those options, so if you're looking for a tool to do this, I've placed a link to us as well as some alternatives in the description of the video below. Okay, so what goes into an ad? When listing your property, you want to give tenants what they want right away, which is the price. If your property has been leased in the past, then you probably already have a good idea on what rent to ask for. If you haven't, then a good idea is to do a search for similar properties in the same area and see what competition there is. See what they're charging. I recommend pricing yours just a bit under what you're seeing in your area for comparables. That way you can get more interest more quickly. The other really critical thing to get out early is how many bedrooms and bathrooms the property has. Between price and beds and baths, that's what tenants are really filtering on. And photos. You must add photos. If you don't have them, you're not going to get leads. It's that simple. People just skip over your listing if you don't have photos. And taking photos doesn't have to be complicated. Make sure the blinds are open, make sure the lights are on, then just grab your iPhone and take those photos. It's better to take them horizontally instead of portrait, and try to stand in a corner somewhere to make the place look its absolute largest. Comment below if you think you want us to do a more in-depth and full-length video for how to take photos for your rentals. Now, if you've posted a pretty good ad and the timing of your posting is good, you should expect to have the property leased within just 2 weeks. If it's taking longer, then either the price is too high, or you're trying to list it too early or too late. So yeah, it's possible to be too early or too late, and knowing when to post your listing is important. I personally recommend posting it right when there are 60 days remaining in your lease. Or if your unit is currently vacant, you should post it right away. Some landlords don't post a listing until about 30 days remaining on their current lease, and that's okay, but I personally believe you tend to get tenants who are better planners in that 30 to 60 day range than you would with just 30 days to go. One thing to consider before you post a listing is if your current tenants want to renew, or if you want to renew. And if you do, a good time to start that conversation is 90 days before the lease expires. You can get that out of the way and clear it up before you even reach that time period where you need to list the property. And that way you may just not need to post a listing at all. If you're worried about getting leads, you don't have to be. If you've priced it right and you have some good photos, you'll get leads right away. Once you have a small pool of interested applicants, you'll want to be the first to respond. Tenants are not only looking at your property, but they're looking at others too. And they expect instant replies. You're likely receiving phone calls, texts, and emails from all those interested tenants, and it's usually best to respond to them in the same way that they contacted you in the first place. Whatever that is, There's some basic info you'll want to gather and confirm with them right away. First, make sure they're looking at the right property. There have been so many times I've received calls from tenants and it's just been the wrong property. So confirm the address with them. Grab their names and emails, ask if they have pets, ask if they smoke, get all those basics out of the way. It's also worth mentioning that you do require a rental application and authorization to pull a credit report. This is a great way to pre-screen tenants so that they know what your criteria is. And remember, the goal of this conversation is to learn more about those tenants' needs and to get them to agree to a showing date and time. The next step is to schedule a showing with those potential tenants. Here, I would encourage you to do individual 15 to 30 minute showings rather than a big open house and having multiple possible tenants all show up at once. In my opinion, when a tenant sees a bunch of other people there, it's harder for them to feel like they belong. Some tenants may also drop out, thinking it's not worth applying with so many other people there. Now, even if you're using online software like Avail to coordinate everything, we really still encourage people meeting face-to-face for those showings. It's a great opportunity to take that 15 minutes with just that tenant to get to know them better. And there are other great opportunities to catch a glimpse of what kind of tenants they'll be. For me, I look to see if they showed up on time, if they said hello, how courteous were they. I'll even take a peek in the window of their car and see if it's clean, see if they've been discarding McDonald's wrappers all over the place. Personally, I think how they treat their car then and how they treat me then is likely how they're going to treat me and my property once they're living in it. Once you've shown the property, you'll want to let tenants know what those next steps are. And this should be some sort of screening process. Typical things you'll want to do to screen the tenant include asking for 5 years of rental history, asking for their current employment information, maybe some pay stubs to verify that income, get a picture of their driver's license or other ID. There's a bunch of standard questions you'll also want to get out of the way. There's some that we ask specifically here at Avail, including have you ever been evicted before? Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Do you smoke? Do you have pets? These are kind of standard questions you're going to want to ask. Then there's also some specific questions to your property that you may need to do. So for me, for instance, I have parking spots that are available for my rental, so I'll typically ask if they're wanting to include the parking spot. All of those questions are typically asked for in a formal rental application, and once you have that, you should take the time to run a credit report, background check, and eviction check as well. I think of these 3 reports in this way. The credit report is how they've treated creditors in the past. The background check is how they've treated society and the community in the past. And the eviction check is how they've treated landlords in the past. And so when looking at the credit report, I'll typically see if they've been paying their debts on time. Additionally, I'll sum together their other debt burdens and make sure that rent is still affordable. Then, I'll pull a criminal background check. To me, the purpose of this is to help make sure I foster a safe community for my tenants and our neighbors. What information you decide to use from this report is up to you, but I always think it's better to have that information than not. Then the eviction check may be the most important to me, as this can have the largest financial impact. Going through an eviction can often mean months of not receiving rent, possibly even long enough where I can't pay off the mortgage anymore and have to go through a foreclosure. Once you've chosen a tenant, you'll want to get them into a lease agreement of some sort. Even if it's a shorter term lease, you'll still want to spell everything out in writing, just to avoid confusion. Some states don't require written leases, but I would say, just as a best practice, always do it, even if it's going to be month to month. Once the lease is created, have your tenant sign it, and then you can sign it. And now you both have something you can refer to moving forward. Typically, you'll want to collect the rent, security deposit, and possibly a move-in fee right at the same time the lease is signed. Security deposits can be a huge concern for some landlords, particularly around whether you should require one or not, and what the legal complications are when you do. If you'd like a follow-on video specifically about security deposits, leave a comment below and we can make one. If you have them sign in person, make sure to let them know to bring checks with them. If you're signing your lease online, then we typically suggest you get the first month's rent, security deposit, and move-in fee within 7 days of that lease being signed, and certainly well in advance of you giving the tenants the keys to move in. That 7 days will give them long enough to set up their online payments. And I'm not just trying to plug Avail here, I firmly think any online rent collection system is going to make things easier for you and better for your tenants. And once you've received those payments, that's when most landlords are now willing to hand over the keys, assuming it's move-in day, of course. And speaking of move-in day, if you've been following the process we recommended, then move-in day is going to be about 30 to 45 days from the day you signed that lease. And more often than not, at least you hope, move-in day for your new tenants is also the same as move-out day for your current tenants. So there's some coordination that has to occur here. And because that move-out and move-in tend to be the same day, which is usually the first of the month, I'll let my current tenants know they have until about noon to move out, and let the new tenants know they can start moving in at 4 p.m. That timeline gives me 4 hours from noon to 4 to go in and fix any holes in the walls, paint, and get a cleaning crew in there to do a proper turnover. That way the place is nice for my new tenants. I'll also typically leave a welcome package in the unit for the tenants that'll include essentials they probably forgot on move-in day, like toilet paper, Kleenex, and soap. Once the tenants move in, things should hopefully get a little easier for you and a lot less stressful for them. You'll want to ask that they complete a move-in inspection checklist, which is a walkthrough of the property where they look for and document any existing damage. This not only protects them, but also sets the right tone of communication for you and them going forward. You typically want to have them complete this document within the first 24 to 48 hours. And if they do find anything, recommend that they take photos and notes and share those with you. And once you get those, you can compare them against your own notes or those of your prior tenants. Now, when month 2 rolls around, this is when you're getting your first real month of rent, at least since they've moved in and received keys. This is a critical step in the entire process as well. Hopefully, you've set up a seamless way for them to pay and do everything else, but if not, at least communicate with them around how they should do those things. In the rare circumstances, when the tenant is going to be late on their rent, you may need to enforce some late fees. Ideally, this is something you've built into your lease, but this does discourage future late payments. Now, determining the late fee amount can also sometimes be quite complicated, and so hopefully you put that in your lease as well. For example, where my properties are in Chicago, you can charge $10 for the first $500 in late rent, and then 5% for any amount over that. And so like I mentioned, if your tenant is late on rent, you'll want to enforce the fees so that they know you're serious. You definitely don't want to overcharge either, so just try to be fair. Now that your tenants are upholding their responsibilities to pay, it's your turn. Your obligation now is to make sure the tenants have a comfortable and safe environment. You have to make sure the building is well maintained. And that includes ensuring access to running water, heat, sewage, and scavenger services, and also keeping on top of maintenance requests that come in. And as those requests do come in from your tenants, you'll need to figure out which stuff is critical that can be fixed immediately and what stuff can be put on hold. For maintenance issues you're not going to fix right away, you shouldn't let communication stop. Let your tenants know that you received the request and what you plan to do with it, even if it's just a "I'll get to it in a few weeks" situation. There are some things you'll want to address immediately though, anything related to plumbing or electrical or heating and water. Those things you have to do immediately and typically within 24 hours. That's your responsibility as the landlord, but it's also the tenant's right to have those things. Now, if you don't do those things, then your tenant's going to withhold their rent, and your plumbing issue just became a plumbing issue plus I'm not paying rent issue. I also believe that if you show that you're taking care of the property, then your tenants are more likely to as well. So all in all, if you can find quality tenants from the get-go, treat them fairly and with respect, they'll return the favor with on-time rent payments and respect to you as well. To take your landlording skills to the next level, subscribe to our channel for additional sessions where we'll dive into other topics like financing a new rental, creating engaging rental listings, how to create an operating budget, and so much more. And let us know if you have topics you'd like to see addressed by commenting down below.